All right. Hey, guys. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping in. Those of you who speak English, also a part of it who has just returned from vacation, and he might write a page in his journal that looks like this. I just got back from vacation. I had so much fun. One day, I went to a baseball game. The stadium was cool, and I saw some famous athletes. They were really good. Another day, I went to an aquarium. My favorite part was the shark tank. Now I need to go to the library and catch up on my homework. Okay, so that is just an example of a journal that a boy wrote when he went on vacation. So the journal entry describes a normal vacation, but there's something special about it. A lot of the words come from Latin. Latin is the language that the ancient Romans speak. So I'm reading out of this book to be able to help you guys understand the English Latin language. Thousands of English words come from Latin. Thousands of English words come from Latin. We say that these words have Latin roots. The meaning of English words are related to the meanings of their Latin roots. So let's take a closer look at some words with Latin roots in them. Vacare, I'm not exactly sure if I'm stating that word correctly, but it's okay. We're learning all together. And vacationum. Romance languages. Many modern languages came from Latin, Spanish, French, and Italian, and all of them have come from Latin. So did Portuguese and Romanian. These languages are called Romance languages because they all come from the language of ancient Rome. So today, Romance languages, are spoken in parts of the world shown here in the dark green. So if you can see that there's dark green places, that's where the Romance languages. See that? Romance languages. So the journal page is about vacation. The journal page is about vacation. Pay attention to that word, vacation, because vacation comes from the Latin word vacare and vacationem. Vacare means to be free and empty. Vacare means to be free and empty. Vacationem is being free from things that you have to do. Vacationem is being free from things that you have to do. So a vacation is when you have free time. So you think everybody decides, let's go on a vacation. And they think of going on a vacation like this. They think a vacation is let's go to the beach, let's go play, let's go enjoy, let's go to different cities, let's go to China, let's go to France. But if you really just think about it, vacation is when you have free time. So how many of us have free time during the day? How many of us have weekends where we don't have to work, where that's free time? That's, in a sense, that's like a vacation, don't you think? But here in our modern world, where we think of modern English, we think vacation is, oh, let's go to China, oh, let's go to France. But if you just break the next page, in this particular page, we're going to learn about how the boy uses three words that have Latin roots in them to describe going to a baseball game. Because remember, he stated that he went to go see athletes play. And the athletes that he went to go see play were at a baseball game. So stadium, the word stadium. Stadium comes from the Latin word of stade. I'll say it again, stadium. Stadium comes from the Latin word of stade. A stade was a distance about 1/8 of a mile. People in ancient Rome also called a place where races were held a stade. In today's English, a stadium is a place for any kind of sport. And today, a stadium is where we go watch baseball players play. A stadium is where we go watch different events for sports. But in ancient Rome, when it was for the Latin word, which is stade, break down stadium, and it's, you see the difference between that? Isn't that interesting? How two different places can have the same word, but they mean something completely different. Another word that he used was famous. Famous. Famous comes from a Latin word of fama. To someone in ancient Rome, fama meant to talk or to report. Today, in our day and age, many people talk about something and it becomes famous or well known. So out here, to us in the modern day, famous means to talk about something that's well known. So, oh, Oprah. Oprah's famous. Oh, Oprah's famous. But if you think about it, famous means someone that's well known here in the modern day and age. But in ancient Rome, in Latin, it meant fama. And famous out there meant to talk or to report. So in a sense, Oprah talked. Oprah talked a lot. And she reported things. So out there, they would say that she's somebody who's well known. Famous in Latin, in ancient Rome, means to talk or to report. Quite interesting, isn't it? All right, let's move on. The next word is athlete. Athlete. Athlete comes from the Latin word athleta. I'll say it again. Athlete. Athlete comes from the Latin word of athleta. In ancient Rome, an athleta was often a wrestler. In ancient Rome, an athleta was often a wrestler. Today, what is the word described as? What is athlete described as today? Correct. Today, the word describes a person who competes in any sport. So, what do you guys think athletes are? We know that they're sport, but tell me what type of sport do athletes play in? There's baseball, there's football, there's soccer, there's basketball, there's track. Here in the modern day age, we call them athletes. But when you go to ancient Rome or when you break down the word for as in Latin, that's a lot of Latin, isn't it? So you see, here is a baseball stadium. Here in the modern day and age, that's what we use. That's what we call, excuse me, a stadium. But like I told you in Latin, a stadium also meant where they held races. All right, let's go to the next. Let's continue to keep going. Now, also in the beginning, I read you guys what a little boy wrote what his vacation would have looked like. And in his vacation, he also went to an aquarium. You guys hear that word? Aquarium. So the boy offered cows to drink water. What? In ancient Rome, aquarium was a place for cows to drink water. But what's an aquarium here in the modern day and age? Does anyone know? What's an aquarium here in the modern day and age? Correct. An aquarium is, in the modern English, a place for sea creatures that live in the water. A place to see creatures that live in the water. An aquarium is a place for creatures that live in the water. And we call those creatures sea creatures, right? Like fishes and an aquarium in the modern day English. But let's go in for Latin. In Latin, an aquarium is a place for cows to drink. You see how different that is? Let's move on. Back home, the boy wants to go to the library. The library comes from two Latin words, libri and librarium. The Latin word for book is libri. So that means libri is a book. The Latin word for book is libri. In ancient Rome, a librarium was a box that held books. In ancient Rome, a librarium was a box that held books. Now tell me what's the difference between ancient Rome librarian and the modern day English time, the librarian. What's our librarian? Our librarian is basically a library that has books, correct? But here in Rome, their librarian is just a box of books, just a box that holds books. Isn't that interesting? And librarian, when you break down librarian, you get library, libri, or library, L-I-B-R, and that means book. That means book. So basically, you've learned a lot of Latin words. Scholar comes from the Latin word schola. The word scholar comes from the Latin word schola. In Latin, schola means school. In Latin, schola means school. But today, a scholar, or I have to now change the way I say the word. Today, scholar or scholar, scholar is a student, a person who studies at school or somewhere else. Here in the modern day English, a scholar means a person who studies at school or somewhere else. Modern English is filled with Latin words. We are not always aware of it, but much of what we say every day links up to ancient Rome. Everything that we say typically leads up to ancient Rome and Latin. Pretty cool, isn't it? Isn't it pretty cool to learn something different? So that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys for stopping by to learn something different, to learn something that English, the English that we speak is also Latin. And then you guys got to step into ancient Rome for a second. No, I'm not the best at sounding out the words the correct way because I here live in California, but I do appreciate you guys for tuning in and learning something new. Check back in, and I will be speaking about animals, which is polar bears. And I want you guys to realize and to know that bears are going to be coming extinct. And if you guys want to know how and why, tune back in. Subscribe to the channel and tune back in later today. I will read you guys something and show you guys how that they may be coming extinct. There is something that everyone can do to where they will not become extinct. Tune back in and you guys will know. Thank you. Bye.